Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Further updates on the massive Scump and Hex lawsuit against the CDL. Big question as to whether the case will be thrown out of court and dismissed, or whether Scump and Hex have a legitimate case to work towards some sort of settlement over the coming months. But also rumours as to what's going on behind the scenes right now in Scrims. Pred, Dashy and Simp discussing an OpTic versus Subliners scrim the other day that apparently did not go too well for New York Subliners. Very much interested your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Just to mention as well, some of the fantasy contests here are still open, so despite the fact that the Major 2 qualifiers have begun, fantasy is still open. You guys want to sign up, there's loads of weekends of qualifiers. There's also 7 teams that are running their own contests. If you sign up and have the best team, you'll win signed merch, all that good stuff. So, you know, you'll feel free to join all of these, right? There's you don't have to just join one, so either the same team, different teams, but each of the different contests has a slightly different scoring system, so keeps it interesting. But this was the scoreboard from yesterday's Ravens versus Subliners series. It wasn't quite ready at the end of last night just because loads of the stats weren't actually being shown on the screen at the end of the game. I know that aBeZy, I mean, bless this guy's soul, honestly. He went through manually watching all of the maps to count down the hill time that each player was in the hill because it wasn't shown on the broadcast. Man, I mean, some of the people in this community just putting the whole scene on his back, to be honest. But these were the numbers, and like, Subliners on paper smoked them, right? And this is what I was saying about the Ravens. I have been concerned about their performance online. They really should have closed out this series because game 1, arguably, they shouldn't have won. They got smoked on the invasion hardpoint as well. To be fair, that was just very well played from New York. But then they couldn't keep it together map 5. Yes, there were tech issues and problems, but I wasn't impressed by either team here, really. Like, the way that Subliners lost the first 2 maps was bad, and then Ravens did not impress me at all from then on out in the series. So, compared to what Toronto showed against Miami, and sure, some of those maps were reasonably competitive, but Toronto are final boss level right now, and the Subliners most certainly are not. Where do they even sit in the current power rankings? They are obviously after their top 12 at the major. They can't be any higher than 4th, and even 4th feels like a bit of a stretch, but of course then you've got to find another team to put 4th if it's not the Subliners, and there have been some candidates over time, to be fair. Minnesota Rocket, maybe until proven otherwise, arguably deserve that spot. So, you know, look, Clay, he has maybe had a tough time against HyDra, those guys, when he's played them over the last couple of years. GG's New York lost 2-3. I don't really know what was going on with the vibes in that camp, but it didn't look especially pretty. But there is more to say on the Subliners here, because we don't really know how good they are, because Ravens were pretty bad online. They played well at the major, to be fair, and they probably should have done better than top 8. They lost that series, of course, to Surge. Illy made the crazy play on the invasion hardpoint map 4. Then they lost the game 5. Surge, of course, great at search and destroy at that tournament. But it's kind of difficult to read into from that series how good the Subliners are presently looking. But apparently in their practice, it hasn't necessarily been going so well. A couple of updates as well from around the Call of Duty world. This from this year's new Call of Duty game. So COD 2024 is going to be a track game. Black Ops Gulf War. Rumour has it that it will, as we'd expect really, feature remastered maps from the Black Ops series. So I don't know how many of these are going to be just Black Ops 2, and I'd be down for that, or Black Ops 1, or even some Black Ops 3 maps if you can transition them. A map like Strongholds, I think there's a way to make that work for boots on the ground, maybe some others as well. But I mean, look, it's just going to be fantastic. What I'm just hoping for, if the game is actually good, which I think it will be, that we have some sort of reasonable competitive scene next year, because the way that things have gone over the last 48 hours or so, I'm not so convinced, frankly, that we will. There was also lots of debate on the AR versus the sub now. It's a debate that happens every year. At the start of the game, all the ARs always say, oh, the SMG's too good. The SMGs always say, oh, the AR's too good. And now we're getting gunfights like this. Okay, did Arstees miss a couple of shots? Maybe, but he does get absolutely incinerated here cross-map by Nero. And even we saw Scrappy yesterday bring out the sub on the Rio, which is pretty rare to see, but Scrappy was moving different with it. And as he says, God gun, it isn't close. As far as he's concerned, the rival is the better weapon at the moment than the MCW. Now, generally, AR players will say that. The SMG players will say the opposite. But to be fair, Scrappy on the sub was a surprising thing maybe to see yesterday. But a couple of updates here on the big lawsuit that's been going down at the moment. Scump and Hex versus the CDL. It's a 44-page lawsuit. There's lots to say on it, of course. Activision have responded. They probably won't say much more than this for now, and of course, neither will Hex and Scump. They are being, well, handled by lawyers in some respects, so they don't want to say what they could say. They want to keep things under wrap. It is how it is. And whatever happens here is going to have major implications for the future of of Call of Duty esports, even possibly gaming more widely. So there's been lots of debate on this. First of all, before we discuss this, these are the claims they are making against the CDL and Activision Blizzard effectively. So we saw the $120 million number thrown around, and well, there's more to it than just that. So, I mean, look, you know how this goes. You come up with a massive figure, and then just like in any business negotiation, maybe you settle it down to something slightly less. I mean, the treble amount of everything combined is over $2 billion US dollars. So, I mean, yeah, so the standard amount here on the left-hand side, this explains who the plaintiffs are in each of these cases. So one of these is for Hex, Scump, and the Hex LLC. Some of these are just for Scump, some of these are just for Hex. To be fair, some of Scump's cases are actually very interesting. Like, I don't know, well, there's two ways to look at it, obviously. Hex has some good arguments, Scump has some good arguments. Like, some of Scump's stuff, like, for example, when Scump's ability to get sponsorships, the fact that he was fined and stopped for doing that Raid Shadow Legends stream, even in the off-season, you know, situations like that will be considerable. Now, whether those losses culminate to more than $20 million, or whether, as is written in this one, that, you know, Hex is basically, because he forced to merge with Envy, that's results in losses of more than $100 million. Like, okay, I don't know where these numbers have been coming up from, but, you know, fair enough. And these are all the charges, all the claims, all the alleged violations. The jurisdiction as well has been noted here, which is kind of interesting in and of itself. Look, I'm sure they've got some big boy lawyers to kind of have a look at this and try to figure it out. And I do find it fascinating how, you know, the Twitter comment sections, the Reddit comment sections are just full of people who clearly know exactly what's going on and exactly what the outcome is going to be. And people can speculate all they like. But the reality is we're never actually going to know. Now, on last night on our Breaking Point watch party video, we'll be doing another one tonight. So we're going to keep the watch parties going throughout the weekends, and then with any luck into the majors, of course, as well. But a guy's got an attorney on last night to discuss this from her perspective. Now, look, her perspective is, generally speaking, that it would be very nice if Scump and Hex, like, you know, could get this done with all of what they've done for the scene. But as far as she's concerned, okay, it's one opinion, but from someone who knows what they're talking about, that more than likely this isn't going to go very far. I mean, her opinion is that a good law firm will get this dismissed, and her analysis is that it feels to her like it's, well, a situation where Hex and, well, people involved made bad business decisions and therefore regrets it years later. She also made an interesting point that possibly, we don't really know if this is true, but the final round of the franchise payments. So they paid money for the franchises up front, then those payments were delayed and pushed back basically over COVID and the pandemic and stuff like this, and maybe now they're due again. We don't really know on this, but the fees were deferred, so maybe that kind of culminates to some of the timing on this stuff. It's somewhat difficult to say, but there's been lots of reaction from both sides, whether Hex and Scump have a case to this, whether they don't. Nature, of course, is also jumping in on the bandwagon as well. Now, look, he's not going to say straight up that, oh yeah, I'm getting involved, I'm going in big time as well. And it's interesting that Nadeshot didn't really seem to be aware of this, because I might maybe have expected that Hex and Scump might have, you know, conversed with some of the other owners in the league, especially a guy like Nade would have been, if you are going to do a lawsuit like this, maybe, you know, they could have spoken with Nade and said, I would have at least maybe expected that. Doesn't seem like that's the case in what Nadeshot said. It felt like to me that he's kind of saying, look, I'm not involved, I'm not really sure what's going on here, I haven't read the documentation, but look, if he has to support anyone, obviously he's going to support his boys in this battle, as the community are going to do. But he doesn't necessarily imply that he's going to be, you know, jumping in and getting involved anytime soon. But also another clip here from Dashy Pred talking to Sib, and they were discussing like a scrim that they'd had the other day, and some funny moments that happened. And Sib actually made it quite clear, only a brief, like, you know, he says it for like a second or so, but he says, we got slammed effectively by you guys in that scrim.
I don't have any strong opinions, just because, one, I'm not a lawyer, nor am I a doctor, or some sort of philosophizer, okay? Stick with me on this. Now, generally speaking, Hector and Scump are two of my closest friends, so I'm always going to have their fucking back. I got myself into some hot water talking about Sleepy Joe on Twitter post-Super Bowl. And I gotta be honest with you boys, I don't know if I want to deal with any drama or any smoke, but I think there's a lot of nuance to this situation. I don't think it would make sense for me to talk about this lawsuit without reading the entire filing, which I'm certainly not going to do. What I think I should do is actually just get some opinion, have a conversation with Hector, and then, you know, but I got their fucking back, dude. Fuck it. I'm siding with Scump. I'm siding with Hector. I'm siding with Scump. There's no way There's no way I don't. I'm siding with them. I don't fucking know. They're sticking it to the man, dude. Why not?
Sticking it to the man. You in on that? You one of the league teams?
I'm not involved in anything, bro. And if I was, it'd be a surprise to me.
You bet your name's just on the fucking docket.
No, because apparently what I read, I'm battling. I already took 3 shits this morning. 3 shits. It's not good.
3 shits. That's one more than 2.
Remember when wait, AG.
Yo.
Just unmuted, but fucking, remember when you were spectating me? Because Dante brought up like the square when fucking he was on like the spawn, like wall and invasion.
Yeah.
You actually brought it up. That shit was actually, I ain't gonna lie, that was an insane. When I did that, I'm like, holy shit, I'm telling you.
Oh yeah, that hell yeah.
I swear to God though, if you missed Dante 1 bullet, you were dead.
No, I wasn't, bro. I wasn't even.
I hit you twice.
Nigga, okay.
Oh, you're capping.
Did you guys scrim today?
Though. I respect the square. Yeah, we got shit on.
Ready, Brian?
Hit con.
Oh my God, answer's federal.
On close.
What do you mean? I mean, you guys are just talking about it.
So if this is true, it'll be interesting to see, right? Because OpTic, of course, on paper, the better team than the Subliners at the moment. Yes, they lost to them in a Game 5 Terminal Search and Destroy, the very first series they played of the season. But since then, it's been a bit of a different story, of course. New York Subliners have regressed. OpTic, if any ways, got better in certain respects going forwards. And in their practice, apparently, OpTic looking good compared to New York. So that'll be interesting to see whether that is, reflected when OpTic play the Thieves on Sunday. And also because the Subliners are in action again today. They play Seattle Surge this evening, a Seattle team that arguably goes in complete shambles. So depending on the results there, if Surge can put up more of a fight than maybe we expect, that might indicate more so than actually the Subliners, they're the world champions at the end of the day. They won the world championship, that made a roster change. So much pressure to deliver on that, and yet all the talk of the last few weeks has been that OpTic and Dashy and Shotzzy need to change their playstyle, whereas the reality is there should probably be a lot more talk about the way that Subliners are currently trending. Just before we discuss those games, this is just one of the reasons why Mohawk just doesn't get opportunities anymore. And he did have a chance, we believe, to join Vegas or Legion. It was Paris Legion, right? I think back then when he got the offer. But we've seen this happen a few times lately, like he's not turning up in time for matches or, sleeping through or whatever. Now, the word that Machilla uses here is Cammy's favorite word. And that's why I couldn't share. Like, if I actually put this, YouTube just demonetizes the video. Like, I know it's crazy, especially for us Brits. You think that's crazy, but it's true. But it's the same thing. Like, Cammy was basically spoken to some guys the other day, and he was saying this. So that was the word in question. You guys, I'm sure, can work it out. But Mohawk messaged his team, Machilla, Chris Radial, Royalty, saying, hey guys, I'm not going to be able to play the qualifier tomorrow. Really sorry for letting you all know last minute. Something has come up. I'm not going to be able to have a setup. Like, what do you mean? I don't know. I just don't understand this whole thing. But that means that this whole team is screwed. Can't play in the elite qualifiers. So great job to all involved. But these are the games, of course, for today. So Breach play the Ravens. Ravens, honestly, I know I predicted them to win yesterday just because I don't think Subliners are very good. I think Boston should be better than Carolina. I don't know. I just looking at the face cams yesterday for the Ravens, it might just be chalked. Boston, they've got Asim in. It's going to be good vibes. Asim as well always wins the revenge match historically when and he's played on the Ravens like last year. So I'm pretty convinced that Boston are going to win this series. Who knows though? FaZe Heretics, based on what we saw yesterday, shouldn't be especially close, but if ErikBooM can play a decent series, we'll see maybe if Miami can take a map here, because Miami have now lost their last 9 maps in a row on LAN and now into online. So if that goes to 12 in a row, it's not pretty. But then I would say the most interesting one, Subliners versus Surge, because Surge, no Illy, Brizzy is in for the first time, we believe. They've not really officially confirmed it, we know that's true. Subliners are going to be favoured here because that team is a bit of a mess and they probably haven't been practicing that much. So I'm going to lean New York's way and probably just take the favourites today. But very much interested to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.
I don't think, listen, I think what happened, let's talk about esports franchise.
Insane business plan.
All right, am I going to fucking talk or are you just going to...
You're good.
Bro, listen, I think this is a case of people being fucking dumb. Bro, at the end of the day, these pitch decks were put together and giving people the information that they wanted to fucking hear. They wanted to hear that esports was blowing up. That was an investment opportunity. And it was a way for upper executives at Activision and Bobby Kotick to bring their friends in and theoretically make a lot of money. The problem is they didn't consider the scene that they were getting into. They didn't realize that trying to pivot the esport to be something it wasn't. We talked about this with Adam. Try and pivot to what was fucking working at the time was going to result in nobody making fucking money. And that's the bed that they are fucking living right now. And they've got to clean it up.
This is also what happened. they saw they hit a $30 million lick on all those teams that bought Overwatch spots and went, holy shit, we could do this again.
Yeah, but they're
He did it
and they're
twice.
using